What's going on, everybody? We're taking a look at the Chrono Odyssey Developers Note number 2. This one is really huge, so we're going to try to go through it pretty quickly and just touch on the issues and some of the things they did to fix some of them because they like to go into like a lot of detail about this stuff, about what they're doing, giving us definitions of meanings like points of interest, like things that we don't really need to look at. We just need to see what they're fixing, what were the main issues that need to be fixed, and look at those. But if you're new to the channel, my name is Rich. I like playing games. This is the gaming channel. We're going to talk about some games. So if you like that, hit subscribe. Let's jump into this video about Chrono Odyssey. So it says it's a continuation of part one, which you know. This is everything that they're talking about in here. And then everything has like subcategories. So they have combat systems, content and open world, progression and gameplay flexibility, technical stability, art, design and animations, UI and UX, balance, social features, in-game guidance, sound, and narrative. Now, when we get to the end here, you're going to see that this game isn't coming out anytime soon because there's a lot of changes they're making. They're overhauling things, overhauling the narrative, overhauling the sound, overhauling animations. So it's going to be a lot of things being worked on, changed. We may see another test build maybe this year if we're lucky. But I'm guessing 2026 is when we'll see the next beta open up for people to jump in and test out what's going on. Um, and then maybe we'll see the game released in that year too. If not, it'll definitely be 2027 because it's a lot. They must be working really hard and crunching, which it's not really that good. So the first thing we have is controls. Input responsiveness is what they're talking about. The issues were that long recovery frames made it difficult to input new commands. Certain motions remain unresponsive. Weapon swapping and other combat actions suffered from input buffering. Some content felt sluggish due to latency issues. UI interactions lacked clear visual feedback. I don't think I had a lot of issues with the input responsiveness. Maybe I'm just like used to like janky stuff, but I know more sensitive gamers that can feel all that stuff probably had a lot of issues with the latency between it. But at the same time, I wasn't really fighting like big monsters or huge things like that for the short time that I got to jump into the game. So you could have seen that a lot more when it came to PvP and fighting the boss monsters trying to dodge out of stuff. But they're going to be adjusting the interruption timing for movement, attack, and skill animations and the buffering windows. Colors and effects across all interactions will be adjusted. A system level feedback queue will be added, and they're going to review client server packet transmission and optimizing network performance. Now, that part, client server packet transmission and optimizing network performance, is something that's going to be kind of like touched upon for everything that has to do with combat movement. So we're always going to see that being something that they're working on. They could have just did like a blanket statement for that. So I'm going to do that right here for you. They'll be reviewing client server packet transmission and optimizing the network performance for just about everything in the game. So let's go ahead and jump to the next part. Controller, keyboard, and mouse experience. The current UI was not specifically designed with either control scheme in mind, resulting in inconsistent and uncomfortable experiences across both setups. Many in-game interactions were developed around controller input, making keyboard and mouse controls feel intuitive, which is weird because I could have sworn they had the cross pattern that we see in like Final Fantasy 14 when you plug in a controller. I could be wrong though. It's been a minute. And a lot of games played. Controller users experienced difficulties with range targeting and lacked access to fine-tuning settings such as sensitivity, adjustment, vibration, haptic feedback, accessibility options, and overall responsiveness. Now, the main issue that I cared about with the controller was and the keyboard was keybinds, being able to change your controller around, and how the movement was, where you had to use like the stick to just run straight, and then the camera turned in the direction you were going. It was like really bad and awkward and clunky. So the UI and UX are going to be optimized and changed, make better. You can remap stuff. But the biggest thing here, I think, is the preset options inspired by Souls-like and MMORPG control schemes is going to be added. So it's kind of like if you're playing like Call of Duty and it's like classic or inverted or Halo type modern control scheme. It's the same thing here. They're gonna have a Souls-like and an MMORPG control schemes, which are, I guess, essentially the same when you think about it. Uh, the main thing is gonna be the movement. It's not necessarily the buttons. So hopefully it's the movement that really affects. So universal improvements, UI navigation depth will be minimized and essential functions will be reassigned to more accessible buttons. Well, I want to go back real quick to the Souls-like thing. So the Souls-like thing is going to have you probably, no, it's about the same. One's going to have you like moving with the camera, I think. Like when you turn, the camera also turns. And the other one is still going to do the camera on the right stick and movement on the left, but you'll be able to actually turn left and right and stuff with that. Hit feedback. Monsters had excessively high stagger thresholds, resulting in weak hit reactions and reduced sense of impact. And they're gonna just change some of the animations to make the reactions occur more frequently, and knockback effects will be added to make hits easier to recognize. And then they're going to review to identify any missing animations to implement those. They're gonna fix some hitboxes, and then they're gonna fix the CC durations, increased to 2 to 4 seconds. It doesn't say from what. I don't remember what it was, but if it was less than 2 seconds, that's terrible CC, making successful crowd control effects more apparent and allowing more opportunities for follow up attacks. So for the damage feedback often felt weak, reducing the sense of impact when taking hits. So what they're going to do is they're going to do some changes, fix up the hitbox. They're going to work on the sound, the camera to make have it more of an impact. I think they should go with the Black Desert Online type of sound, like real heavy, solid hits and impact frames because that's one of the reasons why I think combat in Black Desert Online feels pretty good. It's kind of responsive, things are kind of snappy, but it also just like overall feels good to hit things because of the sound effects. So the baseline hit animations will be refined so that attacks produce a consistent and noticeable visual reaction. So let's say client server response times will be optimized to minimize. So just that's everything. Skill synergy, skill chaining felt difficult to execute due to lack of synergy between abilities, and passive skill enhancements are often more efficient, reducing incentive to use action skill combos. So they're gonna kind of refine the system to support a wider range of playstyles, and they kind of go over this again later about the classes feeling the same. And I think we'll jump back into this then, and we'll just get past this one right now. Skill description and indicators. Some skill descriptions were too long and hard to understand. The Chrono Detector's summon ability lacked in-game guidance. Buffs and debuffs had visibility issues. So they're gonna fix those, the HUD for buffs and debuffs. They're gonna shorten the skill descriptions to make them a little bit easier. And they have videos so you can actually see what they're doing. And they're gonna have the summon UI will be updated to display specter types, backstories, abilities, and enhancement details. I could have sworn that some of the skills. I just am I just playing like too many games? Am I tripping? Did the skills not have videos on them when we looked at them? What? Skill description will be fine with videos added to active skills for better clarity. Better clarity. I guess not. Yeah, I guess not. Class balance. All classes currently share similar roles, tank, healer, DPS. This is what I was talking about lacking distinct identity. Ranged classes are easier to play compared to melee classes. Monster AI does not pose a meaningful threat to ranged classes. There are significant balance discrepancies between the three weapons available for each class. So they're saying that monster AI will be improved to ensure monsters respond more effectively. They're going to introduce a new system. This is a whole new system with skill tree nodes. The Matrix will allow players to choose specific roles for each weapon. That's right, it's called the Matrix, reinforcing combat style identity. Even when using the same weapon, players will be able to choose from four distinct styles based on their progression path. Based on progression paths, the same skill may deliver a different combat experience. With the introduction of the Matrix system, all classes will be reevaluated for combat balance. So they're introducing a whole new system that's going to change the entire balance of how these classes work. And that's one of the reasons why I'm saying this is not coming out anytime soon. Next, we have weapon swap. Weapon swaps often felt delayed, occurring only after skill animations ended. Pressing the weapon swap key multiple times could cue several inputs. So just kind of fix that with some kind of like delay timer in there and fixing the recovery time so things work a little bit smoother and fixing the HUD so you can tell when you swap the weapon. For balance, the combat depth and pacing, they say combat patterns focus too heavily on dodging and attacking, making encounters feel simplistic and repetitive. I know a lot of people were kind of looking forward to like the block counters and stuff like that. I don't think it says anything about block counters in here. They talk about the matrix system with various combat styles, even for players using the same weapon, and that the matrix system players will be able to create and combine various builds that match their preference. And I just feel like a lot of this stuff could be added into like one section instead of splitting it up between all of these different sections. Enemy patterns, combat difficulty felt unintentionally high due to unclear attack telegraphs, making it difficult to time dodges or attacks. So they're going to fix that. The field of vision and sensitivity settings will be improved to give players a clearer view of movement. Patterns with wide hitboxes or long tracking sequences will be adjusted, and players no longer will be instantly defeated by bosses unless they're significantly under leveled. For camera movement and angles was the issue a lot of people had where they tried to target an enemy and it was like bigger than them, it'll zoom in underneath, and you're like looking up at the enemy. They're fixing that. That's gonna get fixed. Lock on positions will be adjusted based on monster type to ensure camera angles are better suited for combat. Attacks and skills will now directly target the locked on enemy rather than following the camera's facing direction. Which why wouldn't it target the locked on enemy? Doesn't what? Enemy AI and response time, aggro detection was slow. Enemies failed to react or stopped acting. It was overly simple and predictable. So they're just fixing all that, making it not overly simple, making them so they actually attack faster, changing the aggro detection range, and all that good stuff. Now, part is difficulty. It says PvE that players encounter sharp difficulty spikes when entering certain content too early, like when they tell you to go fight that dude in the Chaos Gate. Chaos Gate? Sounds right. Chrono Gate. Play so that dude in the Chrono Gate you to fight, everybody kind of goes and slams their head against them, even though they should go low first and then come back into it. But because they guide you there right away, you're like, I guess I gotta do this. Instead of them getting contacted later when you're like a higher level, like, hey, we need you to do this or whatever. I found you, do this. So now it's saying that the players will now reach their first Chrono Gate around level 5 instead of level 3. Additional player progression paths will be introduced before entering the first Chrono Gate, and players will have the option to enter the first Chrono Gate alongside an NPC for support. Solo and party content will have clearer rules and revised patterns. We'll go over that when we get there. But it says solo content such as Chrono Gates will be redesigned for deeper technical combat rather than fighting enemy mobs. And party combat is a feature very mission objectives that emphasize strategic role-based gameplay. Core content will now include guidance for recommended party size, level range, and gear score. Combat UI, not gear score. Dang, I thought we got rid of that. Combat UI and FX. UI elements such as notifications, buffs, and damage numbers frequently cover the screen. Overly bright visual effects, screen shake, excessive brightness. Excessive brightness when you're like looking at the water. Yeah, that was there. And overlapping effects hindered combat visibility. Many skill effects appear too similar and hard to distinguish. So they're going to fix that. Players will now have the option to toggle combat visuals. For duels, it was difficult to recognize the duel zones due to the lack of clear visual boundaries. So they're going to put a visual barrier so you can see it and a warning notification so you know you're there. And then there'll be a result pop up at the end of each duel because there's no way to tell if you won or lost. Content and open world. Hold on. This is going to add some landmarks, make the map easier to read with elevation and stuff like that. Typing two things at the same time: repetitive map design and content density and regional distinction. So yeah, making the map easier to read, putting landmarks around and stuff like that. Regional structure, disjointed regional transitions, and unintuitive pathing. The players got lost due to unintuitive pathing in certain regions. Many players were unaware of the end feature and ended up running back to settlements. Additional routes will be added to areas that require frequent backtracking. The end return feature will receive improved guidance and visibility. I think, see, player onboarding should just tell you about this stuff. Like the game is so close to New World, they should just mimic what New World did in the tutorial, in the first part, in the player onboarding part. Just have them walk through, gather all the things, walk through the town, understand the town layout so people can know what to look for in future towns. Tell them how to use the camp instead of the random quests you find for the camp and the fishing pole or whatever. Like have somebody give it to them because it seems to be an important thing. Um, and then there wouldn't be these issues that people had there. World map, the lack of terrain and altitude. I told you about that earlier. Here's the thing they tell about what's a point of interest. Explored and unexplored content will be clearly marked on the world map to help track exploration. They're actually making it so, here is POI exploration, that hidden caves, narrative encounters, and gathering opportunities to the points of interest to make exploration more rewarding. So they're putting like more things in there to get you to explore. I found some cool things exploring. I thought it was cool where they had chests in like certain areas. I don't know if they reset or not. Like you had to do like a jumping puzzle to get to one. There was one that was like in the cave somewhere. So I like that exploring and finding treasure. mindset. Navigation, traversable and non-traversable terrains. It was difficult to distinguish climbable terrain due to a lack of visual cues. So they're making it so that the what you can't climb is so much higher that you just know you can't climb it. I did the New World method of just jumping up the side of rocks until I could jump up them, and it worked. I got to some cool places. Gathering feedback. It was difficult to tell if gathering was successful due to a lack of clear visual feedback. Gathering effects were too plain, making the overall process tedious. So they're gonna fix the gathering effects and fix the sound and the gathering animations. I think the sound is the most thing. Also, they said make the process more rewarding. They need to actually make the process more rewarding. Like all that slow chopping for one piece of wood is ridiculous. Like, can I get five, three, and one? Just give me one? Terrible. But sound effects is going to make a big deal just because hearing other people do it, and I'm going to go back to New World again because the games are so similar and it's a base level. Hearing the other players do it was pretty cool, and I thought it just made the world feel a bit more alive. It helped with the immersiveness of that world. Later, I don't know what they did with New World. But at the beginning, it's cool. Interactive elements could only be triggered from specific positions, hindering gameplay. They'll fix it. Exploration rewards. Reward value issues. Exploration lacked meaningful ties to core content, which led to a weaker sense of purpose. Rewards were not compelling enough, making exploration feel inefficient and less engaging. They're going to put more rewards that are better. So they're going to fix it. Dynamic quests and chain quests, unlocking exclusively through exploring specific areas. Content engagement and rewards. They say the value of rewards often felt underwhelming compared to the content difficulty, diminishing the intended loop of challenge, reward, and progression. The drop rates of high value items were too low, making content feel more tiring than motivating. And progression was heavily reliant on life skills, which reduced the appeal of exploration, combat, and co op activities, especially in the early stages of the game. The progression structures will be refined to ensure players can progress through a variety of content, including world exploration. Each type of content will feature distinct progression mechanics designed to boost motivation and encourage participation. Motivation, participation. Let's talk about repetitive quest structure, saying that local quests feel overly repetitive. So they're going to kind of fix that, and they're going to rework certain quests so that player choices influence how they progress, conclude, aiming to create a more varied and dynamic experience. They're also adding meaningful events tailored to each region, along with quests that feature unique, memorable characters. Time. Everything they say they're adding is time added, because that's how adding works. Quest rewards. Rewards for local quests were underwhelming, making players less motivated. So they're going to fix it. They're going to add lore related items, rare materials, and equipment that directly contribute to the character growth. And there'll be exclusive accomplishment titles, skins, and other collectibles that can only be earned through local quests. Then players will be able to choose from a pool of rewards upon completing a quest. I guess it's similar to like Final Fantasy, where you have a pool of rewards. Or, yeah, Warcraft was like that too, or is like that. One dimensional dungeon structure. The current dungeon experience leans too heavily on combat rather than solo or party. So they had positive feedback. The overall experience still lacked depth and polish. So they're gonna change some things like expedition dungeons. They're gonna run randomized gimmicks, encourage replayability with additional rewards when completing the same dungeon multiple times. Trials, they're enhancing the overall atmosphere of trials and layout variety across chambers. The new card system they're adding in there, which offers buffs and debuffs, kind of like a roguelite element. Labyrinths are going to have more revival points, so players can start from the middle instead of going back to the entrance. And levers will be replaced with platform-style buttons to keep gameplay flow smooth and uninterrupted. So if you have to stop and pull a lever, you just go step on the platform. Time portals, each run will include varied combat setups and new gimmicks. And the Chrono Gates will be adding new accomplishments and a variety of exclusive rewards. For open world content, they're going to introduce a toggle option that allows players to show and hide other players' skill effects because it was just too busy out there on the field where you're going a bunch of large scale battles with players. For reward and loot notifications, they said the rewards felt unrewarding to the amount of effort, so they're going to fix that. Field bosses will now drop unique, boss specific gear, making them feel more meaningful and worth the challenge. Players who can contribute to the fight will also see clear visuals and audio feedback when receiving rewards, improving the overall sense of progression. Speaking of that, we're in the progression and gameplay flexibility section. So they said there's a lack of explanation for the stat effects, so they're going to add more detail into that. The progression curve was too slow when you got past level 10, so they're going to speed that up a little bit with more XP after level 10. They're going to reduce the amount that you need. Following the second chrono gate, new guides will help players stay on track and engaged. For gear, they talked about how repetitive farming was kind of boring, but they're going to start adding some cool new loot into the game. They're going to give elixir chests, chronotector, enhancement points, matrix points. Players will be able to obtain gear in the open world that includes additional passive effects. They're also introducing an alternative path where players can trade in a set amount of collected materials for a specific item of their choice. And then they're also going to add some gear. They talk about it down here in gear utilization, where they're saying that monsters will now drop exclusive gear with passive effects designed to encourage build experimentation and diversity, which I always like experimentation with builds, but somebody's gonna just end up being like, this is the best build, and then everybody does it. Enhancements and crafting systems. Obtaining enhancement materials with gold and have 100% success rate made the overall experience less exciting. So they're gonna have enhancement materials give out as a one-time reward, and then you'll be able to find the rest of them by exploring the world. Like, oh, it's too easy. We just gave it to you for 100 gold. Why don't you actually go and find them instead? Get out of my face. Crafting interface. So they said the crafting interface was booty, which kind of was. They're gonna fix that. I'm kind of disappointed that they're not fixing how this part works though, because what I want to see with crafting is that crafting, you'll be able to use your old materials to craft the new materials, and then use those new materials to craft newer materials. It just makes more sense to me that way in my mind, that if I'm crafting, I should be crafting upward. And but instead it seems like I needed to have a material for each of the things I was crafting. So maybe that was something that they are going to change, but they didn't put it here. They will have a bookmark feature to track recipes though. So yay. Gear and skill presets. Without preset system, players had to manually swap out gear. So they're gonna go ahead and put the gear preset in the menu. For gathering and crafting, they're saying that crafting results felt underwhelming compared to the value of the materials consumed. It also was overly repetitive, so they're gonna fix that. They're gonna fix the UI. Both the UI and visual effects for gathering and crafting will now reflect character progression. They're also improving gathering animations and related visuals, and gathering will now have a chance to yield higher grade materials and larger quantities. During the closed beta test, they had a bunch of bugs. They're gonna fix them. Quest progression, party mechanics, frame drops and input delay, unstable frame rates during combat made the game feel less responsive. We know what frame drops and input delay is. Uh, Server stability, they're gonna fix it. The number of skill effects spawned will be adjusted to improve performance during combat. And to reduce network delays, smaller zones and certain types of combat content will be migrated to dedicated servers. The effect performance issues, they said a certain increase in visual effects caused a significant drop in performance. So they're gonna kind of work on optimizing all of the features, the line of distance, the textures, the parallel processing. For world optimization, people had some stuttering in there. I guess they're gonna try to fix that as well as with the server client update stuff that they have going on. So they're also optimizing world resources to reduce interruptions while moving between areas. For art design and animation, visual style and character animations. So yeah, all the stuff in that category is just about optimizing. Now we're looking at visual style and UI design. So the current UI feels generic and lacks identity, coming across as too similar to other games. I don't know, man. I thought it was kind of unique. I mean, I don't know what they want to do with Chrono Odyssey's visual style for the UI, but I guess they're going to change it. Uh, Character animations, movement animations often felt disconnected, especially during sharp turns or rapid direction changes. Sprinting and sprint jumping cause noticeable breaks in animation flow. They're going to fix the animation. There's gonna reworking animations to resolve issues where characters appear desynced during sudden direction changes. What is distance matching? What are pivots? UI and UX is UI, user interface, and user experience. So they're saying the HUD was too large, often blocking important areas of the screen. They're going to review HUD scaling and layout adjustments. And notification priorities, such as level pop-ups, will be rebalanced. I think this should just allow you to resize the HUD on yourself. HUD visibility, HP buffs and cooldown indicators are too small in proportion to the rest of the HUD, making them hard to track during gameplay. I mean, since they're like remaking everything, they should just remake this system so we can readjust our own HUDs. But they're going to say they're resizing stuff. and making it so things are more visible to see. Menu structure, the menus were difficult to navigate due to the lack of guidance and proper tutorial. Important features are buried too deep within the menu, making them hard to find. They're going to fix it, make it easier to find, add a tutorial. Quest markers lack visibility and accuracy, making it difficult for players to track progress through quests. That's true. They're going to fix the color so you can see them easier. And the active quests, all active quests will now have their markers displayed on the world map for easier navigation, which is where they should have been. I think you should be able to turn them on and off though. You should be able to choose to track them. Tutorial issues. Many players had difficulty understanding the game systems and content. Uh, I think that's because everybody was skipping the text. Early game guides that appeared as pop-ups couldn't be viewed again later. That was an issue. If you wanted to go back and recheck how to do something. So the plan is to improve clearer guidance, especially during the early stages of the game. A new guide tab will be added, allowing players to revisit tutorials to core systems. And after reaching the first chrono gate, a progression guide will appear to help players navigate the next steps more smoothly. I just, it's, I just think they just need to do that whole thing over again. Like I do like the idea of starting off like in games like Prototype or whatever, where you start off super strong and then you lose all those powers. That kind of works, I guess, a little bit, but there's just like things that you need to know that's more than just combat. And it's just starting you off with combat, but you have to understand the town layout, what each thing in a town does, how to use those systems in a town, the crafting, gathering. It doesn't even I don't even think there's a tutorial about gathering. Like you just have to intuitively know that you can gather by seeing tools to gather. And then you just go out and go, well, I guess I have to find a young tree to chop down. And then it chops down and gives you one wood. So it's like things like if you already knew how to play it, and if I skipped that stuff, that's also bad because it should have guided me to where how to do that. It should have guided me to the people that told me how to do that stuff. So they're kind of treating those like professions like wild professions, but I feel like they're really important to the game because you need to craft things. You need to gather things. Finding rocks was like ridiculously hard because flint's not a rock. You don't use flint. So you're like, I guess this is a rock. I guess I can pick this up to make my tent, my campfire or whatever. So they need to guide you through that stuff. I did like that it was out in the open world where you found those people at to help them. I just wish there was a better way of telling players to go there because if they never come across this dude in the waterfall randomly, then they're never going to get this campfire, or they never decide to go to where the in the water is. They're never going to get a fishing rod. I mean, I guess they could buy one, but they just get one for free. So it's weird. Currency, gold. Gold. Players often acquire gold without clear guidance on how or where to use it. The overall structure for earning and spending gold was undeveloped, making it difficult to use currency effectively. Gold rewards from epic quests will be increased to ensure players have enough during the early stages. Guidance will be added for more content like bounty hunting, local quests, and time portals, where players can earn large amounts of gold. It's the issue is that players acquired it without knowing how to use it or where to use it, and their plan isn't to tell you how or where to use it. Loot value. The gold value of the loot was too low, making players feel that rewards were meaningless or not worth collecting. They're reviewing item values. Party communication. Party system was not intuitive, making it difficult for players to understand or use its features. Social features will be expanded to chat lists in the player interaction UI, and they're going to make a sorting thing and make things look better. Party UI and system guidance were lacking. They'll have a notification system. When a party member is in danger, an alert will be sent to all other members. Communication, chat window. Closing a chat tab will always default the window back to global chat. So they want people to just close the tab and return to the previously used chat rather than defaulting to global. And drafted messages will no longer be deleted when switching between tabs. Chat tabs such as global party and others will be visually distinguishable using different colors. I think they should allow the player to set the colors if they want to set colors to do that. Player choice, on tabs, color tabs. Guides, in-game guidance. In-game guides, there is a lack of detailed guidance for core systems and content, making it difficult for players to understand progression and mechanics. So you have new guides, new guides will be added to support players during the early game and provide detailed explanations for various content and progression systems. For the early game, combat tutorials will be added covering weapon swapping and related controls. Control guides and system tutorials will be included to help players understand core mechanics. After reaching the first Chrono Gate, progression guides will be introduced to help players navigate the game. Key content for earning gold include bounty hunting, local quests, and time portals will have dedicated guides. Quest tracking will be improved to help players locate objectives more easily. Um, Additional guidance will be added for returning to ends. Also, visibility of the end function will be improved. They said that already, right? Still nothing about the rest of the town. All right. In addition to the improvements mentioned above, the refining overall sound design of the game to enhance gameplay experience, new sound effects, updated background music, and improved synchronization. Some weapons like audio that match the visuals. Range weapons felt weak when hitting targets. Weapon sounds will be adjusted. Attenuation effects for ranged weapons will be refined so the hits are clearly audible even at longer distances. The attenuation is like when they didn't describe what attenuation was. Oh, attenuation is like when you have a car drive by and it's like playing music and the music kind of like changes its pitch as it's closer to you, and then as it goes farther away, like you hear the kind of like that. It's attenuation. The music is a good choice for that. BGM delay times will be adjusted to improve flow between scenes. More varied music tracks will be introduced with BGMs assigned to smaller areas to allow for broader range of music. The nerd, oh, this is the thing I'm saying here. So, the narrative of Chrono Odyssey is currently undergoing a complete overhaul. Our goal is to deliver a story that allows players to become more deeply immersed in the world and its lore. That's the last thing to say about it. A complete overhaul of the narrative, the whole story. They're going through the list of dialogue they have in the game, rewriting it all. Complete overhaul. That's crazy. It's crazy because they have animations and stuff that goes with what people are doing. So it just feels like the game is being not pushed back, but like completely reworked. Will it be the same game? We'll see. Maybe it'll be a better game. We'll just have to wait till the next test in 2026. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this one. I told you it would have been a lot longer if I read everything individually. So even going through semi going through just saying they're gonna fix it, it still ended up being like a 30-minute video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully it'll be a lot shorter. Thanks for watching this one, and until next time, I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.